What if the most dangerous killer never left a trace? No fingerprints, no witnesses, just a trail of victims chosen in the darkest corners of the internet. A faceless predator, hiding behind a screen, selling death to the highest bidder. But how did they stay invisible for so long? And what finally led to their downfall? The world knows the internet as a place for endless possibilities, connections, information, entertainment. But deep beneath the surface lies a terrifying underworld, a place where anonymity thrives and the law has no reach. It's called the dark web, a hidden corner of the internet where criminals, hackers, and the most dangerous people on the planet operate freely. Here, a killer, faceless, nameless, and ruthless, waited in the shadows, lurking in the most unlikely places. This wasn't your average criminal. The dark web killer had a reputation for being highly calculated, almost ghost-like in their ability to remain undetected. They didn't target anyone at random, their victims were carefully selected. Each murder was orchestrated with chilling precision, and all it took was a click of a button. The killer didn't even need to leave their home. Their weapon? The screen of a computer. What made this case even more unsettling was how the killer operated, through a web of encrypted communication, shadowed marketplaces, and a network of dark contacts. This was no ordinary criminal mastermind. The dark web killer was a master of secrecy, leaving no trace, no clue, and no way to predict their next move. They were playing a game, one with deadly consequences, hidden behind layers of untraceable data. But how long could they keep their secret? And who would be next? For months, law enforcement had no idea the dark web killer even existed. Victims vanished without a trace, no forced entry, no struggle, no physical evidence left behind. It was as if they simply ceased to exist. Families reported their loved ones missing, but the disappearances never seemed connected. Until one detective noticed something chilling. Detective Ryan Carter had been working on missing persons cases for years, but something about these recent disappearances felt different. The victims had no ties to each other, different ages, backgrounds, cities, yet each one had a disturbing commonality: they had all recently purchased something from a hidden marketplace on the dark web. A marketplace known for illegal services, including one horrifying category: murder for hire. Ryan dug deeper, combing through encrypted messages and payments routed through countless anonymous accounts. Then, he found it, an eerie, coded message linked to one of the victims. A message that read, "Transaction complete. The clock starts now." The chilling realization set in. Someone was hiring a killer. A ghost, a shadow, a predator lurking in the depths of the internet. And they were watching. Detective Ryan Carter knew he was chasing a ghost. The dark web killer wasn't leaving behind DNA, fingerprints, or even a digital trail, just bodies that no one could connect. But one thing was clear: every victim had unknowingly placed a target on their back the moment they made a certain transaction online. Ryan dug through layers of encryption, fake IP addresses, and anonymous cryptocurrency payments. Then, he found something: the username that kept appearing in chat logs of the hidden marketplace, No Mercy 99. It wasn't just a buyer. It was someone taking orders. Who was No Mercy 99? A single assassin? A group? A professional hitman for hire? Ryan knew he had to act fast. He reached out to cybercrime experts, hoping to track the killer's next move. But then, an anonymous message appeared on his screen. "Stop looking. You're next." It wasn't just a warning, it was a declaration. The hunter had just become the hunted. Detective Ryan Carter stared at the message on his screen. "Stop looking. You're next." His hands tightened into fists. The dark web killer knew he was close, too close. But instead of backing off, Ryan saw this as an opportunity. If the killer was watching, then maybe, just maybe, he could turn the tables. Ryan set up a fake identity, posing as a high-profile client looking for a hitman. He placed a request on one of the dark web forums linked to No Mercy 99. His target? Himself. If the killer took the bait, it would force them out of hiding. Hours passed. Then a reply came. Accepted. Payment confirmed. Target acquired. Ryan's heart pounded. The trap was set, but now he had to face a chilling reality: someone was coming for him. He wasn't just investigating the dark web killer anymore. He was the next victim. Ryan sat in his dimly lit apartment, his gun within arm's reach. Every sound outside his window made his pulse race. He had set the trap, but now, he was the bait. The dark web killer wasn't just some amateur. He was precise, methodical, and always one step ahead. If he had truly accepted the contract, that meant someone was already watching Ryan. Then, his phone buzzed. Unknown number, nice trick, detective. But you should know, I don't fall for traps. I set them. Ryan's breath hitched. He rushed to his laptop, tracing the message's origin, but the IP address bounced across multiple countries. A dead end. Suddenly, the power in his apartment cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. A cold realization settled in. He wasn't hunting the killer anymore. The killer was hunting him. Ryan's heart pounded as the room plunged into darkness. His fingers instinctively reached for his gun. The only sound was his own breathing, until he heard it. A soft creak. Someone was inside. His instincts screamed at him to move. He slid behind the kitchen counter, weapon ready. A faint glow flickered from his laptop screen, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Then, footsteps. Slow. Calculated. Getting closer. Ryan's phone vibrated in his pocket. Another message. Unknown number, I see you. His grip tightened. He wasn't just dealing with a hacker. The dark web killer had found him, and worse, he was toying with him. Then, from the darkness, a whisper. You should have left this alone, detective. A shadow moved. Ryan fired. Silence. Had he hit him? The power flickered back on. The apartment was empty. The door was locked. No one was there. Except for one thing. On his laptop screen, a video was playing, a live feed from his own apartment. The realization hit him like a freight train. The killer had been watching him this whole time. And now, he was sending a message. Ryan was running out of time. Ryan's mind raced. How was the killer inside without a trace? How was he watching? His instincts screamed that this wasn't just about catching a murderer, it was about surviving. His eyes flicked to the laptop screen. The live feed still played. A camera. Somewhere in the apartment. He grabbed his phone, using its flashlight to scan the room. There. A tiny pinhole camera hidden in the vent near the ceiling. He ripped it out, but the damage was done. The killer knew everything. Another message popped up. Unknown number. You're good. But not good enough. His blood ran cold. Was the killer still inside? A notification flashed, an email attachment. Against his better judgment, he opened it. A video. Ryan pressed play. His apartment. A figure in a mask standing over his bed while he slept. The timestamp? Last night. The realization hit him like a sledgehammer. The killer had been inside. Inches away from him. Watching. Waiting. Then, another message. I'll see you soon. Ryan wasn't hunting a killer anymore. He was the prey. Ryan's hands shook as he backed away from the screen. His apartment suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. Had the killer already been inside tonight? Was he still here? He grabbed his gun, heart hammering in his chest. Think, Ryan. Think. If the killer had been this close all along, he had to be hiding somewhere. He checked the closet. Nothing. Under the bed. Empty. The bathroom. Creak. A sound. Not from inside the apartment. From the vent. Ryan aimed his flashlight at the air duct near the ceiling. The screws were loose. Someone had been crawling through them. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Run. That was it. No threats. No games. Just one word. A command. A warning. Ryan grabbed his laptop and bolted for the door. Bang! The lights went out. Total darkness. His breathing was ragged as he edged toward the exit. But his fingers barely brushed the doorknob when... a whisper. Right behind him. Too late. The cold steel of a wire wrapped around his throat. The killer was here. Ryan's pulse thundered in his ears as the wire tightened around his neck, cutting off his air. His vision blurred, desperation flooding every thought. He could feel the pressure increasing, suffocating him, but his mind raced. How did he get in? He twisted violently, grabbing at the wire, his fingers slipping against the cold metal. His breath came in gasps, but then, a sudden memory flashed, his training. Calm down, think. With a burst of energy, Ryan managed to slam his back into the wall, forcing the wire to loosen just enough for a breath. He kicked backward, his legs connecting with something soft but firm. The pressure lessened slightly, and Ryan gasped in the smallest intake of air. Then, silence. Ryan spun around, heart pounding. The killer was gone. He looked around the room, trying to see any sign of movement. The darkness felt suffocating. Had he been hallucinating? Was this the end of the game? Suddenly, his phone buzzed again, another text from the unknown number. Don't trust the silence. It's never over. Ryan's hands trembled as he read the message. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw it. The faintest reflection. A shadow. Someone was still here. Waiting. Game over. Or was it just beginning? Ryan's heart hammered in his chest as the shadow grew closer, every inch of his body screaming for him to run, but his feet remained rooted to the floor. The faint glint of something metal caught his eye, a knife. The room was silent except for the sound of his own rapid breathing. The shadows seemed to melt into the dark corners of the room, blending into the night. He couldn't see who it was, but he knew this wasn't over. It was just a new phase. The game was evolving. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on with a blinding flash. Ryan squinted, trying to adjust to the sudden brightness, but what he saw next froze him. Standing before him was someone he knew, a face he never expected. His old partner. The one who had disappeared years ago. The one who was supposed to be dead. The killer was right in front of him, wearing a cold smirk, his eyes gleaming with something darker than Ryan had ever seen before. You thought you could escape me? The killer taunted, his voice dripping with mockery. The game isn't over. It never ends. Ryan felt the chill creep up his spine. He had been too close to the truth, too close to understanding the twisted mind behind it all. But now, standing face to face with his past, the horror of it all hit him like a sledgehammer. You were part of this from the beginning, Ryan gasped, the realization dawning on him. The killer's smile widened. Welcome to the real game, Ryan. And just like that, everything went black. Ryan awoke in an unfamiliar room. His hands were bound to a cold, steel chair, and his head throbbed from the force of the blow that had knocked him out. He blinked, trying to focus, but his mind was foggy. The killer's voice echoed in his ears. "Welcome to the real game, Ryan." The room was eerily quiet, with only the sound of his breathing filling the space. Shadows clung to the corners, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. He could barely make out the figures moving in the darkness, but they weren't alone. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, a familiar voice, but laced with something sinister. "You really think you could outsmart me, Ryan? After all, I'm the one who taught you how to play this game." Ryan's heart sank as the figure stepped into the dim light. His worst fear had come true. It was his old mentor, the one who had introduced him to the dark world of crime. The same man who had pushed him to the brink of destruction. "You were never meant to escape," the mentor said, his voice cold and devoid of any empathy. "This was always your fate." Ryan's mind raced, trying to piece together everything that had led him here. The tangled web of lies, the lives lost, and the twisted path he had walked. He had thought he could outsmart the system, but now, it seemed like he was caught in a never-ending nightmare. "What do you want from me?" Ryan's voice trembled, but he refused to let the fear show. He had come too far to break now. The mentor's eyes gleamed with a twisted satisfaction. "I want you to understand. The game isn't just about power, money, or control. It's about the thrill. The hunt. And you, Ryan, are the ultimate prize." Ryan's stomach twisted with dread. He knew there was no way out now. This was it, the final act in a game he could never win. But one thing was clear, he wasn't going down without a fight.